Okay, we're really getting down to the wire now with Makoto May coming to a close. One after another, I have brought you every Makoto figure that has currently been released. And I'm continuing that trend today by bringing you the last Makoto figure I could get. It is finally time to review Figma number 417, Queen. But of course, we know her as Makoto Niijima. Now, similarly branded as a Persona 5 the animation figure, this is a completely posable Makoto figure. Adorned in her Phantom Thieves outfit, we finally have a fully accessible and fully posable figure of the girl herself in that lovely bodysuit. What more can I say? I'm excited to finally open this because I've had it for quite some time. This figure released quite a long time ago, and it was worth quite a bit for some time as well. Luckily, they made more of them, and I happened to grab a few. I was even lucky enough to get the pre-order bonus, so hang around for that as well. With Max Factory at the helm of making this Figma, I can only expect it to be great. But let's stop wasting time and crack this box open because it's time to find out if she truly is the queen of posable Makoto Niijima figures. Now, as usual, Makoto comes with some instructions, and these come in the form of this little pamphlet that show you how to swap out some of her parts and plug in the different faces and hands and accessories. She also comes with the typical Glad bag that they like to pack in so that you can put all of your accessories away in the end. She also comes with the very typical Figma stand, which is a wonderful stand, a very simple sort of diamond-shaped base, as well as 3 hinge joints to use the little arm and pose it all sorts of ways and plug that into her back. And the additional extender piece also is included that you just attach to the top of the arm of the stand, which allows for a little bit easier accessibility when plugging this into the back. And finally, we have the figure, which I actually think looks pretty good. With her finally in hand, I will say she feels incredibly small. Like, almost to the point where it feels fragile just because of how skinny she is. And I have quite a few Figmas. Actually, I can pull one off the shelf right now. And I understand that the style is entirely different, but just look at how much more chunkier Mugi is compared to this one. I'm not quite sure if Mugi was a Max Factory joint as well, but either way, I feel like she would almost silhouette Makoto here. But I understand she's wearing a bodysuit, she has a very feminine, sort of slender body, but this just doesn't feel like 1/12 scale to me. But again, I certainly don't think it looks bad, I just think it does look a fair bit smaller than some of my other figures. Now, looking her over, she has quite a good bit of detailing on her for being such a small figure. And I think everything here is pretty accurate. And despite her having quite a few joints, she doesn't look very gappy because of it. So that's something really nice to see, because when you have a character in a bodysuit, it's always hard to pull this off. But let's get to posability first. Her head's actually on a double ball joint, which is very surprising to see. And because of that, you don't only get her to roll her head around, but you can also get her to kind of like tuck her head into her neck further or extend it out. If you can see, it's longer now, which I don't get that, but shouty, what that neck do? Now her shoulders are definitely a ball joint connecting to her body, but the inside of the shoulder might very well be a pegged hinge because it does roll around rather nicely at her body, but then it just kind of twists around where it connects at the shoulder. Still, it has really good mobility here, and I can't complain at all. Now the elbow is just a simple hinge, which of course will go in and out, and allow for a swivel as well. The hands, which are of course removable, are on a peg hinge joint. So yeah, these swivel and they can go up and down. Now her scarf is just a simple peg joint, so do be careful with that. You could easily snap this connection. Though in the middle we do get a pegged hinge, which will allow some up and down and of course spinning around. Her petite chest does have what I'm assuming is a double ball joint inside of there because she gets a great range of motion, plenty of rolling around. It's a little squeaky, but it works rather well. The legs connecting at the pelvis are going to be a ball joint as well, though it's one of those tri-pieces where it goes into her abdomen and then comes out into 2 ball joints like a T, so these can be rolled around rather nicely. But at the thigh, she also has this swivelable peg joint, which allows for some further mobility. It does break the immersion a bit, but it works decently. Her knee is also a hinge, so you get some up and down and also some turning side to side. And finally, her feet are on the same hinges, which go up and down, and can be turned side to side. Now to sum up, I would say that her posability is really good. All of her joints are the appropriate colors, albeit a bit dark at some points, but still, there's really no immersion breaks that you can really tell unless you're really up close. And all the joints are pretty much covered up too, so you really don't have to worry about that very much. Booty check, and yeah, I gotta say, she do got the booty, so that's always good. So yeah, the sculpting is really good, but I would also say that the painting is really good too, because obviously all of her details are very fine and small. So studs on her boots, or her spikes on her knees or shoulders, the laces on her corset, everything here is really well done. But we come to expect this type of stuff from Max Factory anyway. They're one of the better manufacturers of Figma. Front to back, she's really not missing any details. I have seen this character a million times, and I will say that everything here is rather accurate. One thing to note is that the chest piece is actually kind of gummy. I don't really know what's up with that choice of plastic, but it's a fair bit softer, and if you can tell, there's actually a little dot on mine, which I don't know if that's a scratch or what, but I'm not too happy about it. There's actually 2 of them if you really look. But those are really the only production errors I see, so overall, I'd say that the QC on this is pretty decent. I'm also pretty happy to report here that she was able to rather effortlessly stand on her own. I did not need to use the stand to get her to stay like this. Her feet just did the trick themselves, and because she's so light, you won't have too much trouble there. See, I'm not lying. She's standing on her own. Good girl. But let me address the 2 problem areas that typically haunt every Makoto release: the eyes and the hair. Her eyes are the wrong color. They're a very faded red, which I really don't get. But I don't know, I've already seen multiple companies get the eye color wrong, so whatever. Just starting to accept it as a fact at this point that nobody can get this right. The hair actually doesn't look too bad. The back of it looks really good. The sides look fine. The only problem that I really have are the bangs. They're really not that well separated in the choppiness, but at this scale, it's kind of hard to get that going. You see, the gaps couldn't really be big enough without it looking very strange because her head is already so small. This kind of just makes me wish I knew how to make my own water slide decals so that I could make her face custom. But I'd probably screw it up too, so who am I kidding? So then by default, Makoto comes out of the box wearing 2 open hands with her fingers spread, which are perfectly fine for plenty of posing. But, of course, she comes with swappable hands as well. She also comes with a pair of balled fists, which are perfect for squaring up and fighting with an opponent. She also comes with a pair of grasping hands, which is weird because there's really not much for her to grab here, but we'll get to that later. And then this hand, they did not give us a matching hand, which is kind of strange because the function for it, I think, is something that anybody could be ambidextrous with. I might as well just show you now. She comes with the cutest little calling card, and I've gotta say, for the scale, this is really good. Getting my camera to focus on it is a pain in the butt, but it actually very clearly does say "Take Your Heart" and has the Phantom Thief logo. The other side is just kind of blobs and blocks because there's no way they could have fit a message on here, but I imagine it would have said something like, "Dear Kingu, we're invading your heart because you're a handsome man, and Makoto loves you so much that we can't let you 2 be together, but I'd win in the end." So yeah, anyway, you use this hand to have her hold it. I don't remember Makoto ever handling the calling card, but either way, I guess it makes sense for her to hold one. That's perfectly fine. And this hand does its function rather well. It holds the calling card, and that's all it really needs to do. And this hand doesn't have a match either, but I suppose that just means that her dominant hand is going to be the right one. And this is a grasping hand as well, but as you can see, the index finger is extended because it is meant to hold, oh, I don't know, what could it be? Well, of course, it's going to be none other than her big iron, her revolver, her bang bang shooty McPistol hand. I don't think anybody calls it that, but either way, it's fun to say. The Chrome Justice, let's call it that. The camera doesn't want to focus on this one either because it's rather small, but either way, I think it looks perfectly fine. Some of the details are a bit muddled out just because of the scale, and because the Amakuni one had an ivory handle, I was expecting the other ones to do so, but none of the others have. No, Makoto, that's not the way you hold a gun, sweetheart. Unfortunately, there's really no good way to show you how to do this. You kind of just have to mash it in there. So make sure her hand isn't cold so that you won't break the plastic. Oh no! And there really isn't much else to say other than the fact that it is, yeah, just her gun. It looks pretty good, and it fits in her hand decently enough. There's really no problem with the fact that her finger properly curls into the trigger. So yeah, this looks great. She's an outlaw, loose and running, came the whisper from each lip, and she's here to do some business with the big iron on her hip. Big iron on her hip. And her final pair of hands are, of course, her signature melee weapon, the Iron Knuckles, or Brass Knuckles, or Spiked Knuckles. I don't actually know what they're referred to as. Either way, I think this is the accessory that I was probably the most excited about. I personally just like her with the knuckles the most, so I'm happy to see this, but I do kind of wish that they were a little bit bigger. They seem kind of wimpy, especially after the Mega House one. Man, those knuckles were chunky. But that is not where it stops, because there are still a few more accessories, so let's keep going, because like every other Figma, you can remove her hair and change her faceplates to give her different expressions. Neutrally, she actually has somewhat of a smile already, which is nice because, well, it's good to see her smile. But let's remove the hair, and whoa, the face just came right off. Another face will plug on rather easily, and then you'll plug her hair back in. And I actually really like this face. This is a more bashful one, which is really cute. I don't know how appropriate it is, because when would she be like this also in her Phantom Thief uniform? I mean, whatever, who cares? Either way, it's adorable, and I like it. Give me a kiss, Makoto.
Choo.
Yeah, that's an official voice line that I found in the data of the game, but I'm pretty sure it's from when she's a mouse, because mice also say choo-choo in Japanese, whatever. And then her third and final faceplate is going to be this angry one, because what would Makoto be without an angry face? She gets pretty heated, and this is a decent representation of that, but I'm now noticing that my face is slightly off kilter. Not sure if you're noticing it as well, but there's more space on the right side than there is on the left if you look at the hair. So yeah, I don't know if I can fix that. Hold up. So yeah, anyway, I forgot I got this from Goodsmile officially, so when I pre-ordered it, they gave me this. But what could it be? Well, this says Figma 417 Queen, which is just the name of the figure. But inside of here is an exclusive accessory. And there we have it. That is her pre-order bonus accessory. It is an incredibly happy, close-eyed smile, which is incredibly precious. I don't really remember her ever being this joyous when in the metaverse, but either way, I'm happy to see it, because just look how happy she looks. So yeah, that was worth it. But there's one final accessory still, because you can take off her hair and swap it out for another piece. It plugs right in just as the other one did, and now Makoto is wearing her Phantom Thief mask. But I've got to say, this thing looks terrible. Because of the fact that it's off balance, or just sort of off kilter, it looks 10 times worse at pretty much any angle. Like, there's no covering this one up. I'm sorry guys, but this is definitely going to be a no from me, dog. It doesn't look too bad with the neutral faceplate, or I guess the smiling one, so there's always that. The main reason I swapped it out was to show you that, of course, all of her other faceplates are compatible with the mask, which gives you a total of 6 different ways to display her head and face. Alright, so then in summation, I'm going to go ahead and say that I really like this Figma. The thing I love most about Figmas is, of course, the accessories and being able to mess around with them. So having Makoto be so malleable, so posable, and expressive is a really valuable thing. There are some minor production flaws, but I think they're a lot better than they could have been with something like this. So I'm going to count my lucky stars that she didn't turn out too poorly. Now, if there's one thing I really have to pick out to say that I dislike, it's the scarf. This thing is the worst. It constantly falls off when you're trying to pose her, and it is just more harm than good. It looks good in photos and all, but I mean, at what price? But that's probably my major gripe. That, of course, and the problem with the mask looking so wonky when you put it over certain faces. But I've had this issue before where I've preferred her a little bit more without the Phantom Thief mask. But I will say overall, this is a net positive. We've got good sculpting, great detailing, pretty decent painting, awesome articulation, and fun accessories. It was a joy to pose. I didn't have any problem with actually coming up with creative things to do with her. All things considered, I am going to give the Makoto Niijima Figma an 8 out of 10. I think with some of the accuracy issues, that's the major problem, especially with the mask. The fact that she doesn't look as good in her full Phantom Thief outfit is a bit of a bummer. I would have liked for the knuckles to be a little bit bigger, and I don't know, I think maybe just one more accessory would have tied things together. But still, this isn't a bad figure at all. I didn't have very high hopes for this, and I will say that I was pleasantly surprised. So if you were debating getting this Figma, I would say go for it. She's actually still in stock at some places. I think even Goodsmile still has her. But what do you guys think? Was this a good figure, or am I just blind by my love? Why don't you let me know in the comments below? And like I said, I saved the best for last, didn't I? Oh, you must not have seen this yet. Yeah, that's gonna be the last one. Anyway, it's still Makoto May, so make sure to watch all the videos that I've released, and why don't you click the one that's on screen? That does help me out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join our Discord to come talk about figures and all kinds of weeaboo garbage. Makoto proved that she can shoot, but can she ride? Let's find out next time. And until then, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and keep on collecting.